Hello, all you beautiful tropical fish. It's me, Caroline, coming to you from my apartment to remind you that for Samantha Learned a Lesson, we do not have a video component to this episode. And that is simply because we messed up, done goofed the file at the video recording place we do it at. And the beautiful images of me were not saved. So we had the option of either just watching Celia for an entire episode or just kind of doing audio only. We've opted to do audio only. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll still get all the little pictures of the books and kind of references to things, but you're not going to get the full scale video production that we've done for Kirsten episodes so far. It'll be back by episode 3, so do not worry if you're going to miss seeing our faces. But for the time being, just put this in a side browser and continue about your day listening to us talk about American Girls. So thank you and bye.
Run, rabbit, run, run, run. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Bang, 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 bang goes the farmer's gun.
We're so back.
Meow, meow, meow.
Meow, meow, meow. This time we're getting ready to learn a lesson. One thing about these girls, we're gonna meet them. We're gonna learn a lesson with them. They're gonna have a birthday. They're gonna celebrate Christmas.
They're going to have a surprise.
Something's gonna change.
And they're going to save the day. I wonder if anyone ever ends up actually saving the day.
I'm feeling like Samantha has the potential to.
Have you seen Samantha's Save the Day outfit?
No.
It's a cute little sailor dress.
Oh. Well, I'm gonna like that.
We're going to need to get you one.
I'm gonna need one. Okay, I'm just saying, American Girl, because you're listening to this podcast, because you're our #1 fans, make cute adult versions of the outfits. I understand that you think your demographic is young women, children, nay. It's not. It's a 26-year-old woman, me, that you should be making. Okay, well, they made Target Halloween costumes of several of the girls.
We messed up by doing this podcast too late.
Don't worry, girl. They're on sale for $26. The American Girl doll box.
Should we buy them for?
We're gonna need to invest.
Would you guys like to see us dressed as American Girl dolls in a non-sexy way?
Yeah, in a
Like,
completely
and I mean-
non-sexual. We'll do a lore-accurate cosplay of the next girl.
And if you want us to dress as different girls, if you think
Yeah,
Celia
vote.
looks, we can't do next girl because it's Molly.
Well, yes, that.
Ugh. I'm gonna be mean about Molly, guys. I'm sorry because my insecurities as a child were projected on the fact that I thought Molly was ugly.
Damn. What if she has like self-esteem issues? I don't know anything about her.
She doesn't, which is what bothered me.
You were like, she should. That little girl's ugly. Caroline. All right. Something
like-
to unpack in the future, perhaps.
One of my fun Caroline lore is I couldn't watch the show Love on Netflix because I thought the guy was so ugly.
I don't even know which one that is.
It's like you'll have to look it up. But
Okay.
it was like a Judd Apatow show for
Okay.
like 2 seasons, and the main girl is she plays Britta in Community, and she's very pretty, and then she's like stuck on this fucking ugly nerd, and it made me so angry.
Oh, this guy, Paul Rust.
Yes.
That's a good name, though.
I just couldn't watch it.
He does look like a boy version of Molly.
Maybe that's it.
Honestly, with the glasses and the hair,
Maybe that's it.
that's really funny.
As I wear glasses for this episode.
Well, Caroline, the optics
Throwing stones.
aren't looking good for you.
Look, I think I'll have a renaissance with Molly. She's my doll. If you didn't notice, Celia is leading the charge for this doll. I led the charge for Kirsten. I think we mentioned it a few times, but we're swapping dolls
We're swapping dolls.
because we're both busy women and we can't completely lead the charge for each episode.
it's
So
good to hold hands and support.
we're like
Pass
friends.
the responsibility.
Yeah, like Nellie and
Sometimes
Samantha.
one of us is working in the factory and the other one is living her princess life in a Victorian manner.
And the other one's doing knee bends.
Well, in a way, we're both always doing our knee bends.
Oh, yes.
So here's the questions I have set up for us. Ready? Will Samantha successfully get her beloved friend Nellie a job again?
She get this child hired.
Okay, I don't know why I wrote this. One of my things is I wrote, will she finish her sampler? Obviously, I glossed right the fuck over that she did finish it by the end, but it wasn't directly addressed.
She probably has a new sampler, though.
If she does, we don't learn about it. And then will Samantha develop a deeper sense of class consciousness? Yes. Let's find out.
In Samantha's school story.
In her school story. Also, I will point out something that I noticed when I was reading this book is it's much clearer, like the distinction of what each of her stories is versus in Kirsten's. Even though I know that Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten's books were all published
Around the same time.
Very
I don't know if
quick.
they were released at the same time or just in the same year.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all 1989, I think, or 1988.
Sure,
It's something like that.
Very
Yeah.
quick. But anyway, I noticed in this one it clicked more clearly for me about what the goal of each type of book is.
Oh yeah, no.
If it wasn't already obvious.
It gets Samantha learns lessons in the metaphorical way and kind of in like the school way, which is I think what
she spends a lot more time at school or around school here.
Yeah, but she's not as scared of school, and she does. I think we have to give Kirsten grace on this one because she did not speak English.
No, and I think that's most devastating part about her book is that you just watch a poor girl struggle and you simply can't cover the amount of time required for her to become
if you made me go to Spanish school, I don't think you would get that much school from.
Oh, God, no. And I, too, would cry and be stressed out and think I hate school.
And go run off with a Native American girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My best friend.
That's how it goes. Singing bird.
My
lover.
I miss her.
Never came back. I bet she comes back. Oh, side note. So Celia and I are reading all these books in this giant PDF we found on Tumblr. Don't take it away from us. It's okay. I downloaded it. But I guess, which makes sense because capitalism, after I stopped reading these around age probably 11 or 12, they kept coming out with books. And there's Samantha chapter books. Samantha has her own like Nancy Drew-esque mystery series.
Okay, but all the girls do.
Yeah. I know. There's like one of the Kirstens in there too. And I remember thinking we should read it. And it was long. And so I stopped thinking that.
These normal ones are like
70 pages.
70 pages, but about 40 of that is the actual story.
It takes an hour to read them.
Yeah, and then it has the peek into the past. And Samantha's have been longer than Kirsten's were. But yeah, I too cracked open. The one that I opened up was The Curse of Ravenscourt.
Yeah.
A Samantha mystery.
Yeah.
And it was 138 pages, which, okay, which sounds ridiculous, is not very long in theory. But for a children's novel, I was like, why is this 40 pages longer?
Well, yeah, we like covering these because we can cover them.
They're quick and dirty.
In one feasibly under 2-hour episode sometimes.
Feasibly.
But we were thinking potentially down the line, if people actually listen to this podcast, of covering Dear America books, which are similar in length to the mysteries of Ravenscourt, etc. So if we ever do cover those, we'll probably be in multi-episode arcs, like a third of the book.
Yeah,
and they might be on Patreon.
It could be like a little book club.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little book club for girls.
A little girl club.
Girl fort?
We can call it Girl Fort.
Girl Fort. Girl Fort book club.
No one's listening to this yet, so we're just really hypothesizing.
It's fun to project.
Exactly.
Manifest.
Exactly. We're hoping for more.
So let's dive in. Chapter 1, Notes and Knee Bends. Samantha attends a little private academy called Miss Crampton's Academy for proper young ladies. This would be very typical for a girl like her. She's affluent. Her grandmère is paying a shitload of money.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
For her to be a proper little lady, study her arithmetic and her English, and do all of her fancy things.
And this is where we meet Samantha's posse.
She's got quite a crew of ladies. We first meet Helen. She's in class. She's in French class. She's studying French as a little 9-year-old. I, too, studied French, took 4 years of it, retained little to none of it. So what was it worth? Nothing.
Comment ça va?
Maybe, ça va bien, mais tu?
There you go.
Ha ha ha.
Muy bien, gracias.
Baguette. Où est la bibliothèque?
Où est la discothèque?
I'd like to get to there. And she's passing notes. These little ladies have a little system. Her friend Helen sits behind her, writes a little note, and then shoves it in through the wrought iron of her desk, and then pokes her in the back with her pencil so that she knows that there's a little note. And Samantha has learned how to perfectly time it so that she can get that secret little note and put it on her desk.
Old school texting.
Old school texting. And basically, Helen doesn't know what a particular phrase is, and she's trying to get Samantha's help in time. And Samantha misses the mark, isn't able to help her. Helen gets called on.
Well, she curses.
She does curse. Oh, yes. Okay. She writes, what the dickens does, I think it's la gorge,
Yeah.
mean? Which is throat. We'll learn later. But she says the dickens is a big time, almost swear word. And that, I think we should bring that back into vogue. I think we should say what the dickens more.
We can say it.
We can.
We can use it on this podcast.
What the dickens?
What the dickens is Kirsten up to? What the dickens is Nellie doing?
What the
in
dickens?
a factory again.
Hopefully not. But I did think that was very funny. She tries to help her friend out when Helen gets called on by being like, and her teacher's immediately like, are you okay? Are you sick? Are you quite well? And Samantha backs off and is like, yes, I'm okay. And then little miss fucking know-it-all bitch.
Edith Edelton.
What a bitch name.
Never name your kid Edith.
No. And you know who the worst Downton Abbey character was? Edith. I hated that bitch.
Sometimes I hated Edith. There's so much about this that does remind me of Downton Abbey, so I'm glad you already brought it.
Yes. It was like the first thing I was thinking about because she has a similar whiny, obnoxious quality to her.
I do like that later in Downton Abbey, though, Edith became like a news reporter and found her stride in the 20s.
She was given purpose later.
Yeah. No, in the beginning, she sucks.
Well, she's just so vindictive needlessly.
She's a middle child.
I understand that she was pushed around and she was bullied and such, but I was like, hey, girl.
I really hated Mary so much.
Oh.
Did you like Mary? I've never hated a character more than Mary
But
in a way that
she's so delicious.
She's not. She's so rude.
Oh,
she makes me so.
I love her and Matthew. This whole plot line.
I can't stand Mary because she's such a monster, and no one ever checks her. And I always wanted someone to just like.
Oh, that's why I liked her character.
Did you know Theo James played Kamal Pamuk?
Yes, I did know that. No, I liked her. Oh, I agree. She doesn't really get checked, but I liked her because she was just allowed to be a nasty, awful character. Because like Sybil is sort of.
I love Sybil.
Sorry for the Downton Abbey aside here, but like Sybil's allowed to be like the rebellious, fun, like well-loved, like kind character. Edith is
just got that voice.
A kind of whiny, spineless bitch. And I like that Mary, because, I mean, she was unchecked, right? She was always going to be like head of the household. She didn't really have anything. The only ever threat to her safety in society was when Matthew was like proven
the heir.
And then she had to figure out her place real quick. So maybe we can have a longer aside about it.
Yeah, if
later.
you guys want to listen to us talk about Downton, we can do that.
But I think like Edith in the book is very much, actually kind of has like a Mary energy. She is also very privileged. She lives in a similarly well-off home. And Samantha repeatedly remarks that she's very smart, but she's a know-it-all, but that she probably doesn't know as much as she thinks she knows. Probably nobody in the whole world knows how much she thinks that she knows.
Well, it's also, I guess, like a good transition back to from our Downton discussion is I did like all the little girl names being like so Victorian kind of.
I think
like
little girls now should have old woman names again.
Well, I thought, and obviously like, duh, they're going to name the kids names that were historically accurate, but it is kind of a little bit, they kind of did choose names. I haven't done the research to check, but it's not just like everyone's named Mary, or Charlotte or something. It's Ida and like Helen and things like that.
Yeah, Ida Dean and Ruth Adams.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a fun little like look into the naming conventions at the time, I guess. I don't know. It struck me as kind of like, oh, these are names that are probably like pretty accurate for the time that aren't just the staple like Caroline. You know?
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like we're not giving young people old people names anymore.
I would love to.
So young people are gonna get old and they're gonna still have young people names. But they're going to be like Lakin, and they're going to be 70.
I don't want to have kids, but if I did have kids, I really like the name. Well, my grandma's name was Margaret, so I like that. But I wanted to call my mystery, not real child, Madge. That would be fun. And then I
That's kind
also
of
like the
slay.
name Blanche, which I know is insane.
Oh, I love Blanche.
But I think
That's a good name.
I think they're nice and classic names, and they're different without being
yeah.
insane, you know?
Oh, I was like the name Eloise.
Yeah. Eloise at the Plaza.
Eloise at the Plaza.
Let us know if you want us to read Eloise at the Plaza. Or just watch the Christmas movie.
I love the movie.
Yeah. Or we're really distracted.
I know. Sorry. This is a pop culture episode. Anyway, she goes to lunch with her friends, Helen, Ida, and Ruth, and they're yip-yapping, and then she opens up her lunchbox, and there's a piece of gingerbread in there.
And she's taken back.
And she's triggered. It becomes a trigger point. She immediately...
She's got non-flashback.
Yeah, she's reminiscing about the good old days, probably like a month ago, of when her beloved friend Nellie, her friend of a short time, that she gave her very expensive doll to, was taken away from her. And now she doesn't have that friend anymore. But at least she's not like Kirsten. She still has friends to hang out with.
And they're all yapping about how they have like calisthenics class after lunch.
Yeah, which is very cute. They keep describing like the movements that they like doing, but then most specifically that knee bends are the most obnoxious ones. But that at least gratefully that they don't have to swim.
Without water.
Yes.
Because apparently, as we find out later in Peek into the Past too, that some schools would teach girls and boys to swim, and if they didn't have a pool, they would just like hoist you up on like a leather belt and teach you how to swim, which I argue is missing the most difficult component of swimming, is the water.
Yeah, the whole variable of being in an open body
and having to breathe
water.
not breathe underwater,
Well,
but learning that you cannot.
When we teach the children to breathe. But yeah, so yeah, that's kind of the end. They just they talk.
Just as a quick note, I feel like one thing that's interesting in the book so far is in the Meat book, I feel like the first chapter takes us forever to get through. And then after that, the first chapter is like, here's the scene, school, get used to it.
Yep.
And then, like, because that's all that happens. They pass notes in class. We find out Edith sucks. We find out who her friends are, and they don't like knee bends. And she remembers she has a friend named Nellie.
Yeah.
Which leads us into
Quick and dirty.
Yeah.
Chapter 2. Nellie. As Caroline said last episode, we're not led astray for long. Nellie comes back right quick. And it turns out that in the background, grandmother has been pulling some strings, and there's a family, the Van Sicklins, which is a fun name, I thought.
real last name.
Have hired not just Nellie for a job, but Nellie's whole family. So now Nellie, her mother, her father, and her 2 sisters all live in-house.
Which is crazy LinkedIn of the Victorian era.
Yeah, networking. Although one might argue that networking is the future of acquiring a job in such markets.
But who, what situation is it that the Van Sicklins need 5 servants at once?
It seemed to me maybe that they didn't have any, or that they had lost some of their, because the mother is going to do
child labor
the
is
child
different.
care. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like the mother was going to do much of the housekeeping. The dad was going to become the driver because they didn't have a driver. And then the children were just going to be around.
So I bet they're paying them so shittily.
And they all get to stay in the carriage, in the room above the carriage house on property. It is a bummer. Okay, but I will say this is very interesting. This is a very quick Celia historical aside. When I talk about the servant girl annihilator murders that happened in Austin, a bunch of the victims were domestic servants. And it was just very common that because you wanted to go live your life in society, you would build a house on your property that would be multifunction, but that you would just have space built for room and board. So I thought it was kind of interesting because when Nellie stays with the Rylands, it seems like it's kind of implied she just gets shoved
Covered.
off in a tiny little space, versus the Van Sicklins, I feel like
had servants' quarters.
Yeah, right.
One could argue you're about to move into servants' quarters.
Kind of.
In the
I
same
am.
sense.
In my
carriage house.
garage apartment.
Yeah.
I know. I'm kind of excited about it.
You'll have to let us know how you feel.
Yes. In 3 days,
Exciting.
I'll have new house.
Ooh la la.
New space to live.
No space for girl.
But yes, so new space for girl, Nellie alert. So they're working a little job, and Nellie's very excited. And not only do they have a job, but Grandma Marie has also pulled some strings, and the Van Sicklins have helped, that Nellie's going to get to go to school. And Samantha is so excited about this. She's like, you're going to love school. School is amazing. It's so fun. And by the way, gingerbread no longer triggering because Samantha has more gingerbread and is like, let's have a little gingerbread to celebrate.
They eat so much gingerbread in these books.
Yeah, it makes me sad because I can't have gingerbread because I'm allergic to cinnamon.
Oh, I was going to suggest you make them, but we won't.
Well, we can. I just have to take a Benadryl before.
Okay.
That's the thing about my allergy. It's just a nuisance. It won't take me down. So it's very cute. So then Samantha takes Nellie and her sisters to go enroll in public school. And she goes and she starts the class and everything.
She's like, tell me how everything was. I'm
Like-
going to go scoot off to my school.
Yeah, I'm very
Love ya.
popular. My place is expensive and you can't come to
Different
there
school.
with me. But I'll come check in on you.
And
when
then
you're done.
she comes back, and Nellie's little sisters, Jenny and Bridget, are like, school's so fun. We love it. And then we find Nellie, like, face down on the ground.
It
crying.
is incredibly funny piece of art. She is like squatting in the grass with her little lunch pail. Oh, because they have lard buckets.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, this actually, I want to go back. It was, again, something about Samantha's, like, train of thought is very funny in these books because it is, like, a mile a minute. And it's, like, all through the day, she's like, I wonder what Nellie is learning. I wonder if people are making fun of them for the lard bucket. Should I have given them other lunch pails? Like, her
Do
whole...
they even have food
Yeah.
in there? I should have looked because then I could have at least given them my cookies.
My gingerbread.
My gingerbread.
But she, like, spends the whole day thinking about what her friend is up to.
Yeah,
And if
which
she's
is
liking
cute.
school. And she comes back and finds out her friend had the worst day of her life.
And the answer is, yeah.
Not
it's
good.
Oops, all bad. So Nellie is like, I can't do it. Like, I don't want to go to school anymore. And Samantha takes it upon herself. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was scrolling through the book to get to the next little part. One time when a boy passed my desk, he leaned over and whispered, dummy. It's so true. Little kids are mean. But I was like, it's just kind of funny.
And Samantha gets called dummy all the time by Eddie.
Yeah.
And ugly.
Yeah. I'm surprised Samantha wasn't like, that means he likes you.
She's like, don't you want to have a romance like mine?
A boy who loves to tease. So anyway, Nellie's like, I'm not going to go back tomorrow. And Samantha's like, yes, you can. And then Samantha is scheming in the background. She goes and she talks to the teacher and is like, how can I help Nellie catch up? So this, next chapter, 3. Mount Bedford School. So Samantha goes and talks to Miss Stevens and is like, how can I help Nellie become smarter? How can I help her catch up, basically?
Well, and I did like this because, again, we keep kind of harping on this, but we had fun with Samantha so far.
She's just more interesting.
I just feel like things happen quicker and people react in a way that makes more sense, but also in a way that, as an adult reading it, like, you can be like, oh, yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
Whereas Samantha, like, goes up to Miss Stevens and asks her, hey, I have a friend who used to work in a factory. And she's in school for the first time and she's my age, but she doesn't know how to read and she's really far behind. And she's initially worried that her teacher is going to be, like, non-sympathetic, I think. And then, but it says something about her teacher's eyes, like, showing her that she did care. And so then her teacher sits down with her for what seems like a good amount of time and is like, okay, here are the things that you can, here's a 2nd grade book. Here are the things that you can teach her. Kind of crazy for a 4th grader to be teaching a 2nd grader things. I don't know how well this will go.
Yeah.
But I guess if it's just basic things.
Yeah, like basic kind of math problems that she already knows or basic kind of language things.
Even just, like, I think writing and, like, how to write the letters. And
penmanship.
Yeah.
Especially since Samantha goes to a more elevated school.
And she can teach her knee bends.
And she can teach her the knee bends. I did think it's funny that the teacher, probably because, you know, she's teaching lots of other kids and doesn't necessarily need the burden of teaching another child or helping an older child.
She's probably
catch
not
up.
paid well.
Because Nellie's the same age, but Nellie's in 2nd grade. And yes, like you said, and she's in 4th. But she's like, I think you'll be a good teacher, Samantha. Which really is funny. So she does take all of the things and she's very excited to help her. And then she goes and she talks to Grandmarie and basically says, I want to help Nellie. Can I use, like, the tower in our house as, like, a space to teach her? And Grandmarie begins a series of comments that are basically that show that she doesn't see Nellie as Samantha's friend so much as like Samantha's charity case that she can use to help develop Samantha into a fine young woman. So Samantha literally frames it as, "Can I start a school?" And Grandmarie is like, "What are you talking about?" But yes, you may use the tower because I see what you're doing.
Which
fine young lady.
Have you ever been into one of those towers in a Victorian house?
Oh, yes.
Pretty cool. Pretty hot, but pretty cool.
Violently uncomfortable.
It's pretty stuffy,
But phenomenal vibes. 1 for a school, 2 for the imagination of a child.
But did I want one to be my reading nook?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Still do.
Oh, yeah.
If the opportunity was given to me.
You will find me passed out.
You will find me taking a little cat nap in a sunbeam. So she runs over and she goes and she tells Nellie.
Nellie is ironing.
Nellie is once again working because she has a job. And Samantha's like, "Okay, come over right now." And Samantha's like, "So I still do work here. I don't live here for free."
She's like ironing in the old school way.
Yeah, with the heating it up.
And she's pouring sweat.
Yeah,
and Samantha's
in her little outfit and her little
I got
bow.
a plan.
Come hang out. Hee hee ha ha. Nellie's like, "Yeah, when I'm done with my job." So Samantha hangs out.
That beach like 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then Nellie finishes up work and she comes over and she brings Lydia with her. And Samantha observes that Lydia has been through
the
ringer, hell and back. This doll is beat to shit. But Samantha notes that it means that it's obvious that Nellie has like loved her.
Yeah,
and
Nellie
she's showing signs of love and wear.
Nellie lives in a slum. She can only keep a doll so clean.
Yeah, it is very funny. It would be more disturbing if the doll came back in mint condition.
Exactly.
You'd go, okay, well, feel like you didn't cherish the doll that it gave you properly.
But this is another one of those weird POV moments you get of like Nellie climbing the stairs into the
Yeah, so
tower.
They run into the house and then they go up into this beautiful spire. Well, it's not a spire, but that's how I was thinking of it in my head. And they go into this beautiful attic and they run past the sewing room and Elsa, who we haven't talked about, but I just think she's like not that interesting. There's like a grumpy maid.
And she's only ever referenced. I think she has, in the first book, she was in one of the Meet the Characters and never came up besides Samantha saying
something in passing.
That Elsa would be like a snitch about her stalking.
Yep.
And this one, she's
only in chapter 2, and she says you have a visitor.
She's grumpy
when
about
Nellie
it.
is sitting in the waiting room for her.
She's very O'Brien coded to go back to Downton Abbey.
She's very O'Brien coded. Maybe there was some inspiration.
Oh, yes.
Taken from the American Girl books for Downton Abbey.
Oh, yeah. Julian Fellows was reading the American Girl.
Was a big, big fan. So it's very funny. So Nellie is like holding her breath and she's like so excited with anticipation. And then they start the Mount Bedford school, which is what they call the little school that they have up there.
Their town is Mount Batten, New York, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a play on words.
Or Bedford.
Mount Bedford, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little play on, because they're clever.
A little play on words.
And so she's teaching her.
So she teaches her and Nellie starts to pick it up and she's like a very good teacher. And so they work hard at learning like little girls should.
Well, my favorite part is she's teaching her, it's like, oh, Nellie really liked learning, like handwriting. And then Samantha's trying to teach her, like arithmetic. No.
Arithmetic?
Sorry. So Samantha's teaching her arithmetic and Nellie's really good at it. And Samantha's like, dang, you're really good at this. She goes, well, yeah, when I lived in New York, I had to get food for my family and I had to decide how many beans we needed. And
I'd count my coins and the money in my purse.
I have a finite resource and I have to figure out how to spend it. Samantha's thought is basically, ugh, that's a bummer. I don't want to think about that.
She literally is like, so stop bringing that up.
She's like,
hope you didn't tell it to people at school.
She's like, anyway,
you're really good at math, so focus on that. Focus on the good qualities you bring.
I just
to
did
learning.
like how she was like, oh, bummer, no thanks.
Yes, Samantha is very charming. Just generally.
But yeah, you brought up earlier, and I think I put it in the notes, that Grandmary doesn't really see it as a friendship, but is okay with it. And I think that is because, like, charity was big for young ladies. And so I think she sees it as like, oh, Samantha's, like, delving into charity. How nice.
Yes, I think it's the same way she agrees to help Samantha with Nellie's family. It's not necessarily out of an actual interest in, helping my friend's family, so much as it is,
Helping the less fortunate.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a charity case.
Yes.
Of course, it's not really your
Also,
friend.
I can help out with my $230,000 car.
Yeah, and my beautiful, beautiful manor.
Exactly.
So that
Grand
takes
Mary.
us to chapter 4.
The
contest. And this is the crux of the remainder of the novel.
I wish it was just called Contest.
Contest with an exclamation point with 4 of them.
Contest.
4 exclamation points. So it's very cool. Miss Crampton makes an announcement that basically the Mount Bedford Club.
Mount
Bedford Ladies Club is hosting a competition for young ladies, and that all of the schools in like the area are going to be invited, and that 2 students from each school are going to get picked to do a little speech on progress in America.
Which is so propaganda coded. We've never been nothing if not a nation full of propaganda.
It does have the same energy as the random 4th of July celebration dive-in at the end of one of the Kirsten books when she has the honey, when she saves the day, but not really at all.
With honey.
With honey. We're just suddenly like, oh yeah, we are in America, aren't we?
I just wonder, I'm sure TikTok would tell me in a way that I don't care to hear, but I just wonder if other countries have this, like, I want to do a paper about why we're the very best country in the world. Like, I feel like we had this.
If there's similar types of patriotism.
Post 9/11, Jesus Christ. But, like, I'm sure there is. I know British people don't understand fully the devastation they caused around the world. Like, having lived there and having met them, they're kind of a little bit shockingly like, oh, well, that wasn't that bad. And you're like, well, and we do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I'm curious if like Greek kids are like writing essays about how awesome Greece is.
Right, like, love it. No, right, but it is interesting to think about, especially because the whole thing here is that you're supposed to rally around like all the great American things that we've done in the last couple years, which is really just essentially inventing different electric things.
We were hot on the inventions during this time period.
Famously,
Mr. Graham Bell.
Transformation.
Was he around?
Alexander?
Oh, Alexander.
Graham Bell?
Let's see. He's Canadian American. Yeah, he was born in 1870s. No, he made the telephone in 1876. So yeah, he's pretty big deal right now.
But the telephone's becoming like more prominent.
Do you remember in Downton Abbey when they got the telephone?
Oh, how could I forget? I love that show. That show is ingrained in who I was as a child and now who I am as an adult.
Yeah, guys,
I wrote fan fiction for that show too.
It's gonna be peppered throughout the Samantha book. I feel like.
So anyway, basically they have 3 weeks to work on their speeches.
He was kind of hot. Sorry, Alexander Graham Bell was kind of hot as a young man.
All right,
it's okay. Sorry, go on.
Sidebar for another time. But yeah, Miss Crampton says they have 3 weeks to work on it, and obviously Samantha is locked in. She knows, one, she's going to get accolades from her family, but specifically her grandmother, if she can be an impressive little miss and be one of the ladies. But you know who is running her big fat fucking mouth about wanting to participate? Also, Edith. So Samantha knows more than anything. She has to be better than Edith. But basically all of Samantha's friends, when they're talking about it, are like, I would poop myself and die on the stage if somebody, I would cry from embarrassment if you made me get up there and have to talk in front of everybody.
One of them, I forget which one of her, it might be Ida. It's either Ruth or Ida, I think, is really like losing her like goddamn mind thinking about having to speak. She's like, you'll have to bring smelling salts up because I'm going to faint. She's
yeah,
like,
it is
going
Ida.
to throw up if you make me say a single thing about progress in America on stage.
Yeah, she starts with, I wouldn't do it even if the president gave me a medal, and then escalates it to, I might faint and you'll have to remember the smelling salts for me because I will not do it.
She will be a great wife.
I think so. The dramatics are already there. She won't be a boring wife, that's for sure.
So I do feel like this does establish Samantha kind of as a ringleader.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because all of her friends are bitching, and Samantha's kind of like, well, I wish I could win, but I guess I'll just have to put in the good college try.
They're all like, you're going to win, Samantha.
And they're like, okay, Samantha, we already know that you're good at this.
It's going to be you and Edith Edelton.
Yeah, we already know who the 2 girls are.
Who gets a full page picture in this chapter.
Yeah. And she looks like a bitch.
She does. Also like slightly like an adult, kind of.
Well, they all do.
Yeah.
All of the children look 5 to 10 years older.
Kind of like pre-Renaissance art when they didn't figure out how to do children. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, that's just an adult.
Which is a tiny
adult baby man. My favorite line, though, is that they are bitching about Edith, and then she says that Edith knows more big words than the rest of us all put together, and she's not scared of anything. And then Helen tells her, Ruth, just be quiet and eat your sandwich.
Like, with your little words.
Shut up. We get it. You're dumb. I'm dumb. So I think that was very funny. But then school gets out, and Nellie and her sisters are there waiting for them. And then they all walk home, and Edith clocks this.
On her little tricycle.
On her little tricycle, which is very funny.
On her penny farthing.
It reminds me of at the end of Incredibles when that little kid is in the driveway and is like, "What? I'm just waiting for something to happen." Edith energy, so like the evil version.
She's just sitting there in the bushes, you think?
Yeah,
and she like, as soon as she sees Samantha.
She's like, I know Samantha's hanging out with those dirty factory children. So Edith does yell at her and is like, does your grandmother know you hang out with scum and scabby little kids like that?
I know, it's rude.
She's rude. She's very rude. And I'm looking at the picture of her right now.
Samantha's like, if I could punch a girl.
Yeah, she's like, once again, if I was allowed one act of violence, I would enact it against Edith. And like Nellie and her sisters get like really embarrassed about it. And then Samantha goes and has dinner, a very fancy dinner with her grandmother. And then this begins a series of questions that she asks all the adults. It's interrogation part 2. But she starts with her grandmother and is like, what's the greatest sign of progress in America? So then she just asks everybody like what they think. So her grandmother, I don't remember what her grandmother says. The telephone.
Yeah, she likes the telephone.
She likes the telephone. And
because it fires and like talking to a doctor.
It's so much more accessible now.
Yeah.
And then she asks her uncle.
But nothing will replace a well-written letter.
Ain't that the goddamn truth? Little ladies love penmanship. But then I was going to jump to her uncle, but I forgot that at the end of this conversation is when she again is saying like, why would Edith like make a rude comment? Like, Nellie's my friend. Why isn't Nellie allowed to play with us? And that's when Grandma Marie is like, you're helping her. You're not playing with her. And that's a very important difference that you should learn. Like,
yeah,
now.
Kind of like, oof, Grandma Marie.
And then I love this sentence. Samantha was quiet. She didn't like the difference.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
I liked it. I was like, okay. Like I said,
okay, let me
class
cook on
consciousness
this.
develops. So that's just the end of that chapter, though. But then she moves on because Uncle Guard's coming to visit without his stinky lady friend. Thank God. Boo, we hate her. And so very obviously she asks Uncle Guard what he thinks the greatest sign of progress is. And of course he says the automobile.
Because I've sunk our entire fortune into one.
He's simply spent every penny to his goddamn name on purchasing the loudest jalopy this side of the country. So they are playing lawn tennis, which is very cute.
Just so rich.
Very rich, very posh. So they're talking about that. And then she's like, well, what about like electric lights and things like that? And so she just learns and talks about all those things. But eventually she comes to the conclusion that cars are not better than horses, though.
Because you can't feed a carrot to a car.
No.
Which is still so true.
And it's such a fact. And I have to agree with her because horses have so much personality and a car is a car.
I agree. And we haven't figured out how to make our cars have personalities yet, but Elon is trying.
And I don't think we should. If the Cybertrucks have shown us anything, I don't think cars need any more
personality.
Unique qualities given to. I think we've invented every shape of car that should be, and I think we should stay there.
Well, and then Samantha just goes around asking everyone about inventions, and people are basically the one that helps me the most.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
So she learns that people are self-actualizers.
Yeah.
Whatever makes it better for me, better for everybody.
Miss Hawkins, the gingerbread lady, is like ovens that aren't on all fucking day.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, it's so
much better this way.
Yeah, the gas oven, great. Like, I don't have to stoke it with coals, which I didn't even think about doing. But, like, yeah, before you had gas oven or before we had electricity to work for it, you had to start the oven in the morning, whether or not you were using it or not, to get it hot enough to cook throughout
anything
the day.
in it. Yep.
So it was just on all day.
Haunting.
How hot?
And disgusting.
Yeah.
What a fire hazard.
Yeah.
Risk alert.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, she does all this questioning just to kind of come to the conclusion that it's factories, actually.
Doesn't Hawkins
Yes. So yes, Miss Hawkins' husband.
We assume.
It's
Maybe
actually
brother
not.
and sister.
Yeah, so the optics could be off on it. Well, it's Mrs. Hawkins,
Yeah.
so I guess
Yeah, they are.
they're for sure married. Okay. Yes, he says factories. So then she decides, well, Nellie worked in a factory, and Nellie is cool, and I like Nellie.
So I'm going to say factories.
So it's factories.
Must have been fun for her.
Must have been pretty cool. So then they continue to study together. She writes her speech out. Then she
gives it in class.
Yeah.
And she wins like the semifinals, basically.
Yes, alongside Edith.
Ugh, of course.
Edith, stinky, gross Edith. Also, Edith makes more rude comments and says, like, do you think she's, like, practicing to be, like, a washerwoman?
Yes. Kind of like, girl, just give it a
It's
rest.
like, okay, we get it. You're being, like, evil and sick. But I feel like everybody who has an opinion on Samantha being friends with Nellie, has already developed that opinion. I don't know that, like, the slander campaign is helping. Also, it's obvious, like we've said, that Samantha has a posse of friends. So it's not like she's actually ostracizing Samantha
her
from
friends
her
don't
community.
seem to either know nor care. They haven't said
They make
anything.
no commentary. They don't bully her. They don't say, like, ooh, it's stinky. It's embarrassing.
Well, Samantha doesn't invite Nellie to hang out with her friends.
Yeah. I was wondering if that was going to change in the future books or not.
We'll have to see, but I feel like
no.
we can dive
probably.
into it. We can do our own psychoanalysis of it if it doesn't change.
Oh, yeah. So then Samantha does go home after winning and after studying at the Mount Bedford school. And a couple different things happen. One, she talks to Nellie. Or no, she overhears a conversation between Grammary and Edith's mom and Ryland's mom, if my memory serves. And Ryland's mom and Edith's mom are just losing their shit. Basically being like, I don't know what got into the Van Sicklins. Why did they bring that? Like,
it's kind of shitty because Eddie's mom, like, fired Nellie.
Also, just the child.
Yeah.
They're making these, like, grand aspersions against this family that the mother just fired the 9-year-old child who was sick from their job. So it's not like, oh, the whole family worked for me and their work was, like, less than satisfactory, so that's why we let them go. It was a child that
who was
kicked
sick.
out.
Yeah.
So the optics actually should look worse on Ryland's mom than they do. And then Edith's mom is like, oh, they're, like, filthy and they're gross and they wear rags to school. And then Grandmary's like, yeah, well, they're poor.
Yeah, Grandmary channels, again, Countess Violet. Or the Dowager Countess Violet here.
She's not an equal opportunist for liberty and equality.
Yeah.
But she does have morals, as all good, proper women in society should. So she does basically put them in their place with a frosty little glare.
She's polite but not friendly.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
She's making it very clear that, she's not entertaining.
She's not going to gossip with them about this.
Yes, this conversation is over. Wink. So Samantha hears that, and she does feel a sense of
pride in Grandmary.
Yeah. She's like, as much as Grandmary shapes me into, like, a young woman. She doesn't say this, but this is, like, the energy. It's like, as much as Grandmary, like, tries to shape her into a young woman, she does see good qualities in her grandmother that I think rub off on her.
Mm-hmm. But more importantly, she goes to talk to Nellie, and Nellie's like, congrats on winning the speech. Read it to me. And she's like, here it goes.
And then she does it. She's so proud of herself. And then Nellie gets, like, really uncomfortable and really quiet and really awkward. And
it's like, that's not
she's
what
like,
it's
so
like.
It's not the reality. And Samantha is kind of aghast.
She's like, what are you talking about? I wrote this speech. I won an award.
I did this for you. You're my friend and I'm good. And therefore you can't be upset. But she's very understanding. She listens. And Nellie, in quite gruesome for a children's book detail, describes, like, the horrific conditions that she works in, that, like, all of these little pieces would happen, and she would get up at 7 a.m. and she'd work well until 7 after at night. She'd work for days on end.
She had to stand the whole time.
And they weren't allowed to wear shoes. And
which is crazy.
I know.
I didn't even know that.
No, I didn't either.
So their feet could grip, so they could climb on the machines, which is crazy because the machines are whirring.
Yeah, and so in the winter, like, their feet would basically freeze because they had nothing to keep them warm or protected, shoes, socks, nothing, and that all of the, like, machinery had, like, different chemicals and, like, smoke coming out of it. So then all of that would get in their lungs, and that's why she's sick. and that like lots of kids would get injured and hurt, and they had to do all these little things with their hands.
Their hair short. And then one time she saw a girl get scalped because she had long hair,
hair
and
was
it got
too
stuck
long.
in. And she's like, yeah, she was bleeding all over the place, and half her hair is gone. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So she very fairly describes the horrors that her as a little 9-year-old has already experienced. So it really makes Samantha rethink what she said
about factories.
And
I did a side flashback in my own childhood to the Irish Mill Girl Dear America book, where we also see someone get scalped, I'm pretty sure, in what is maybe the most depressing book in the Dear America book series, which maybe one day we'll get to, and I won't spoil it, but it's truly terrifying and weird that they wrote it for children.
It does feel like we forget at times, perhaps, when we're outside of the education system, how really, truly horrific our history was.
Well, and I guess this is a little before the time, but there's also the time around when the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory happened.
Another historical tragedy.
When they would like lock people in these factories. They would lock
You needed to work your shift because your labor, you were getting paid, but basically not.
She's getting paid, I think, $1.85, which is a week, which is probably, if $1 is $35, it's probably like $50 a week, $60 a week. It's not enough.
No, barely anything, right? Like pennies on the dollar. So, she's with the horse. I will say, I wrote the note here. This is my sticking point. This is where I was like, oh, she actually learns a lesson. She actually has a preconceived notion about the goodness of something. Then she is taught.
Humbled.
Yes, very respectfully. And I like that Samantha, I mean, I understand they're American Girl books and they're supposed to give you a certain perspective on history and all of those things. But I appreciated that there wasn't even a pause in her character of feeling embarrassed or anything like that. I just enjoyed that she just got to learn a lesson and then changed her mindset from that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a good quality to impart upon the youth of America.
I agree. I think, yeah, like you said, I think it's nice that there's her in school, which is what the lesson books are for, is to teach you about school in that time period.
Right.
But then there's a greater lesson that's like more philosophical, I guess.
Yeah. But so we go right from that after Nellie describes the horrors we jump to
Winners.
The Mount Bedford
lady competition.
Yes.
So
in Winners.
Do we hear what the other speeches are about?
No, it only kind of briefly touches on Edith's topic.
What was her topic?
I was actually going. Oh, it's great machines and the fortunes, and that everybody can work.
She's not gonna work. She doesn't know about that.
No. Her speech is not very good. Her speech is a paragraph long in the book, and it basically is just like, we're fortunate to live in this age of progress, and progress is the great American adventure.
Wow. It's
basically just about that anybody can become wealthy in America.
Hell yeah.
So honestly, her speech does look embarrassing in comparison to in the shadows of the night.
Sick beat that Samantha drops.
Samantha has been iterating her speech.
She's like, I'm going to wing it.
She took the constructive feedback and she is ready. So Samantha gets up and gives an absolutely devastating read on the modern factory practices.
Well, Nellie and her mom are sitting in the back.
Nellie and her mom are there, which is very cute. So I'm glad that like her friend gets to see that, you know, she had a positive impact on Samantha's opinions of such things. She does describe also kind of the horrors where she's like, they can cut off their fingers, they can make children sick, and the children who work in factories don't have any time to play or go to school, which are all true devastating things for a child to think about.
And in that order, too.
Starting at cutting off their fingers, ending with, and by the way, they can't play or learn. And basically, Samantha kind of turns the topic on its head and is like, well, if factories can hurt children, then maybe progress isn't so good for America all in.
Which is kind of a mic drop moment.
Yes. Well, and I loved this.
Nobody in the Mount Bedford Ladies Club was expecting that.
No, not at all. But I did like this. This is where this American patriotism comes back. She says, I believe Americans want to be good. I believe we want to be kind. And if we are kind, I believe we will truly take care of the children. And then we can be proud of our
Think
progress.
of the children.
Think of the children. We are the world. We are the children.
And she sings that.
And she does. And she wrote that song, actually. And that's the craziest reveal in this Samantha book. So it's very cute.
We get POV Grand Mary.
Yep, hard shift.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And Grand Mary's like, what is this girl doing? Hold up, though. I am proud.
Yeah, she's like, I also feel it's not direct, but it does feel as though Grand Mary's perspective shifts at least a little bit.
I think so.
Towards understanding that Nellie is a friend that is influencing her young ward positively. So Edith is fucking upset, stinky little poo-poo crybaby that she loses. And then Samantha gets a nice little medal, first place medal that they hang up at school. And she's very excited about it. And then they're eating more cookies.
They love cookies.
It's not specifically gingerbread.
But you know it is.
But it's probably gingerbread and the pink little cakes, and they celebrate her win. And then Nellie tells Samantha the good news on the other end, which is that she's advanced to the 3rd grade. She's caught
Which
up
is
enough.
great. So quick, too.
But that, trouble in paradise. She sits next to Eddie Ryland now in class.
Twist.
And then that's where the book ends.
Another abrupt ending to an American Girl book. They're like, oh my God, we got to move you up in school. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee-hee. And then it ends. Peek into the past.
Mwah. So we deep dive into the type of school that she would have gone to, which is a little young ladies academy. It goes through all of the different tour of the houses that they would have gone to, the way that they would learn penmanship, all of the specific types of classes that would have been specialized because, like young ladies wouldn't just learn about standard school topics. They would also be expected to learn like the etiquette and the behaviors that they would need to have in high society.
Yeah, they would have like fancy lunches sometimes.
Fancy lunches, how to properly speak. Again, their little aerobics classes, calisthenics.
I know, it's funny. They had like yawning lessons.
Well, also even like doing like the dancing. I had like a dance unit in 5th grade, which I hated because I hated having to dance with the boys in my class because I was already very, very tall.
We had a etiquette class.
Really?
Just like we had an etiquette unit when I was in 7th grade for like half the year. And we had an etiquette luncheon. And so then you had to like show how you like learned etiquette.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like eating at a table like a normal person. It was like showing you when there's different like
the different spoons and stuff. And are you supposed to work from your way out in?
Yes,
or
out
in. Because
And
they take that stuff away each time.
And just like not to put like your like dirty fork on like to put it on your plate, like sitting in, just like that type of stuff. It was fun. We got to eat bread with honey butter. And I was like, get me more of this.
To make butter in school?
No.
Okay. We did that once. We actually did it twice. I did it in 3rd grade and then I did it in 6th grade where we got all these materials and then you would put it in a jar and you would just shake it and shake it and shake it and then you would make butter.
I think that's in Minnesota.
Yeah, probably. Probably the Great Dairy Complex of the Northern Midwest. So that makes sense.
You had more butter to make.
I had a lot of butter to make. I had a lot of bread to butter. So it also talks about like the punishments and stuff, which I think would have been kind of funny to see if like Samantha and Edith got in a fight and then like they got sent home for misbehaving.
Maybe in another book.
A little harsh letter. Maybe in another book.
I feel like Samantha would hide a letter if she got sent one home.
Oh, for sure. She would be like, oh, I was so sick, Grandmarie. Like, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, Grandmarie probably is like doing her best, but she also has raised children already. Yeah. So I feel like Samantha has a little bit more of a like, she has a stern Victorian grandmother, but there may be some places where Grandmarie just like, famously, she snuck out and no one noticed. So I think Samantha might get away with a little bit,
Probably. And she's sharp.
She's wily.
She's not just spoiled. She's wily. She's got her wits about her. And I will say the last thing I thought was kind of interesting is at the end of this one, the final page sort of talks a little bit more about how long school children would be, like how long kids would be in school. Where like in Kirsten's, she was really only going to go to school until like she basically became 13, and then she's going to work the rest of her life and then like become like a homemaker by the time she was like 17, 18. And so in here it's like kids will go to school until 16. And even though like Samantha would have access to being like a young woman and going to like a private academy and being a young lady, that like college education was still pretty on the fritz on if like a young woman would get to go. It'd
Yeah,
be very
peeking to the
rare.
past didn't seem confident Samantha was going to go to college.
No. It was like, she is smart and she is interesting, but she's not going to do it.
It's like, think about it as like Rose Dewitt-Decatur. It's the same age as Samantha.
That's so funny.
She could be one of her little friends.
So, well, famously, Samantha could have been on the Titanic.
She might
as
be.
we've now done the timeline.
Yeah. And chew tobacco like a man, you know?
That'd be kind of funny. Do you think she'd get like a little pantsuit like Sybil?
No.
She wasn't that much of a
No,
rebel.
I'm not feeling that for Samantha just yet.
Well, she's described as a bright Victorian beauty.
She is.
She is.
I think Samantha will toe the line between being a little bit of a rebel, but I don't think she's totally like... She's not wearing pants and she's not running off with the chauffeur, I don't think. I think she's meeting a bright, brilliant boy who goes to Harvard, you know?
Ooh. And then maybe he educates
He's like,
her.
You always keep me busy, Sam.
He buys her a car.
Yeah.
And she's like, I already know how to drive
and she
because
gets in
my
an
uncle
accident.
taught me. She gets in an accident.
like, Matthew.
Yes, thank you.
I hope this episode...
Spoiler for Downton Abbey years later.
I hope this episode makes sense to people who didn't watch Downton Abbey.
I know.
But we know you all did.
I'll make an appendices that explains every reference that you
Some
need.
footnotes.
Yeah. So my wrapping up thoughts were just, I feel like this was a very intentional furthering of Samantha's character and story arc versus, like I said, in episode 1 of the Samantha series, Kirsten's books felt very boop, 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 segmented and separate. But we got the Nellie call back. Her uncle came back again. She had some continuing negative thoughts about Cornelia. And we got a little bit more of her world. Eddie is still around. Nellie is now having some crossover with him at school, which I'm sure will come into play, or maybe it won't, but in the future.
Yeah, I think I like with this that there's the world building is better. I think the characters, like you said, stay more consistent and continue to pop up in consistent ways. I like that the books feel more aligned with the themes so far in a way that just kind of, like I said, she learns a lesson. She does learn a lesson. With
Yes.
Kirsten, it felt, as we said at the time, a little bit more ham-fisted in that.
It felt like they had decided that these 3 girls were going to have this set type of stories, these like 5, 6 different types of stories, but that they didn't necessarily think through if they had enough material for the 3 types of girls that they picked.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit, and I think some of that is because there's more information on the Victorian era. There's more like fodder to do with someone who lives in a New York City suburb who has endless wealth than a girl whose family's trying to hack it on the prairie. And also, I wanted to apologize to Samantha because she isn't as much of a brat as I remember.
I will say, though, kind of to your credit, but also maybe to not the credit of people online, I do feel like that is still the energy she's described with.
She hasn't really been bratty.
Where I feel like people are like, she's like a bitch, she's annoying.
It's reverse classism. They assume because she's rich, she's a brat.
Well, I do,
When
because
she's really just
she's
dumb
definitely
about, like,
spoiled.
yeah.
But she's ignorant, but not intentionally.
Yes. Yeah. She just doesn't know things.
She's sheltered.
Yeah, exactly. Sheltered.
Like I said earlier, she is open to learning. And I think that that's the fun thing about her character, is that she just learns the lesson and then adapts her POV of the world, which is cool because I think that that's more reflective of the learning and growing you're doing when you're 9/10, 11.
Well, and I don't remember exactly. I remember there's a big fun plot that I remember from her birthday book that you accidentally kind of referenced a little bit, teaser, without even knowing. And then I remember changes because it was visceral to me, similar to Kirsten finding a dead body. There's something insane happens and changes that I really remembered deeply. But I don't remember what happens in her Christmas book or in Samantha Saves the Day, besides her cute little sailor outfit.
I do know what it's funny, I do know what her Christmas outfit looks like.
It's a little like velvet dress,
because I remember wanting it.
Yeah.
when I had my other dolls,
Mhm.
but I didn't have a Samantha doll.
So you couldn't.
So I
You
couldn't
couldn't cross-
possibly just
you couldn't
buy
cross outfit?
her nonsense outfit. But yeah, so we continue to enjoy and love our girl Samantha.
What are your predictions as someone who hasn't read them?
I think she is going to bond with Cornelia and continue to be radicalized as a young little woman.
Mm-hmm.
I hope she gets into a fight finally.
You hope she tussles?
I hope she gets into a tussle. I hope it's with Eddie. Or I hope Nellie gets into a tussle. I hope one of them tussles with somebody.
I feel like if Nellie gets into a tussle, she'll be sent back to the factory.
That's so true. So maybe not with Nellie, but there's no consequences for her.
Yeah, maybe Samantha takes the fall. Maybe that's how she saves the day.
That could be cool.
That'll be fun.
I'm hoping she saves the day, but I hope it's like not related at all to like Nellie. I hope Nellie hangs around, but I kind of hope Nellie is more just now a friend / foil character versus at least for like a book or two.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, okay, Nellie, thanks.
I like that.
Bye.
Well, guys, you can share this with your friend who watches Downton Abbey.
You could share this with your friend who overshares their traumas with you when it's not appropriate.
You can share this with your friend who had a job as a teenager.
You can share this with your friend who had a job as a child.
Yeah, find that person.
Find that person.
You could share this.
Have them write a book.
You share this with your uncle whose girlfriend you hate. That's a 30-year-old woman.
Yeah. Hey,
if you're the aunt, if you're the girlfriend.
If you're the girlfriend, send this to your uncle, your boyfriend's niece whose personality you find detestable. Send this to somebody who loved Charlie XCX's album Brat.
And then send this to somebody who grew up in the Victorian era and then ask them if they can come on the podcast.
And then send them our way. We'd love to interview them.
And let us know which of the Crawley sisters you think is the most detestable.
And which American Girl doll you think we should dress up as.
Yeah, don't forget about that.
Don't forget about that. All right.
Back.
All right.
Bye.
Rabbit, run, run, run. Bang, 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 bang goes the farmer's gun. Run, rabbit, run, run, run.